Hello, hello. It is 4:30 on Thursday, which means it is time for another episode of At the Maker's Table. I'm excited to continue our sponsorship with iBobs. They have bold readers, blue light prescription eyewear that help you make 7 statements a week. So I love them. They frame your personality. I'm wearing them right now, and I just can't wait to talk about them more. So I am joined today by John and Jess of Humble Nut on it. Let's see if they're here. And we are going to talk all things nut butter making. There they are. Hello, you two.
How you doing, Jared?
Good, good, good. All right, you got your Humble Nut Butter shirt on?
I do. I'm dressed for the part.
Very nice. I'll have to get one if we do these again. I'll wear it next time.
You will. We got you.
All right. So it's a joy to see you both together. I don't think I've ever seen you together, but there you are now, live and in person. Oh my gosh, our sign fell. Well, it was there. I have this new wood wall, so I'll pop it back up there.
I love it.
Minnesota Monthly is dedicated to the spirit of Minnesota. So tell me a little bit about how living in Minnesota influences Humble Nut Butter, because I know you guys have moved around the Midwest.
Yeah, we're both transplants, but Midwesterners for me by way of Michigan and John from Iowa. Do you want to tell a little bit about your family history?
Yeah, so I was born in Iowa and then moved to Washington State in 5th grade. So I spent 5th grade until high school in Southwest Washington, right between Seattle and Portland. And then went to the University of Kansas for college.
I'm
'Cause I
from
had
Kansas.
Yeah, right? And so I stuck around Kansas City, just like you, Jared. I was there for just under 4 years.
Okay.
And then moved to Chicago, which is probably the best decision I've ever made in my life because I met Jess there and, had a great group of friends and a lot of fun. I've got a brother and his wife are there. But then we moved to Minneapolis about 6 years ago. It'll be 6 years in next month, actually.
Okay.
But John, what I thought he was going to say was his history with Minnesota, which is his grandparents had a place on Cross Lake. So his family's happy place is Cross Lake, Minnesota on the Whitefish chain. And so before we were married, we would come up and kind of have family reunion type gatherings over the summer in Cross Lake. And that's really how Minneapolis kind of came on my radar because we would, on drives to and from, we'd stop and hang out in Minneapolis. And it actually reminds me a lot, parts of it, of where I grew up in Michigan. I grew up in Traverse City, Michigan. So really like lakes, lots of kind of outdoor cross-country skiing, things like that. So it even though we're transplants, it definitely feels like home.
There's some good makers in Traverse City, Michigan, too.
There are, yeah.
That potato chip company, were they around? They've been around forever, haven't they?
I'm trying to think.
There's a mighty fine potato chip company in Traverse City.
We're going to look it up.
Like a pork rind company, too, I met last year.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, good, good, good. So, nut butters. We've read the little dialogue. I'm hungry. I want something not to... We know that part of it. But tell me how you got at just these flavor combinations and how you settled on nut butters.
Hopefully we don't sound like that, by the way, Jared.
So that's
I'll
your published story. So let's get the real story where one of you doesn't say what you want them to say.
Right.
No, it was really just, I just had a question one night and just thought, why are all nut butters sweet or plain? But mixed nuts are always, the smoky, salty, barbecue, spicy. And I love those flavor profiles. And I like food and I like my food to have a lot of flavor and I really want to enjoy it. And so really the first concoction I made was the cashew, the sun-dried basil cashew. And I had kind of a sun-dried tomato tapenade in our fridge and we had some plain cashew butter and I just started kind of mixing and experimenting in a little dish. And then it really went from there to, well, I really like pecans and it's hard to find a pecan butter. And I really like walnuts and it's hard to find a walnut butter. And just lots of different experimenting with, flavor profiles that we like and kind of inspired by foods that we eat. And, we living in Chicago, I think the best thing is that there's just so many restaurants. And I was there for 13 years, so I got to eat my way through a lot of really great restaurants and get exposed to different types of cuisines. So I am not a chef, but I have eaten enough to know what's really good. And thanks to my mom, I'm a good enough cook that I can kind of experiment and play around with it and have fun.
Yeah. Okay, I have to say, someone just joined, and their screen name is Nut Butter Enthusiast. So if they have any questions for us, they are the perfect one to have joined us.
They came to the right place.
I agree with them. I too am a nut butter enthusiast.
Yeah. Well, you called it a concoction, but I think, like, where do you go from concocting in the kitchen for late night snacks to putting it in a jar and hauling it out to farmers markets and places?
So Jess created the recipes in our home kitchen. I think we burned through at least 2 food processors.
Oh, yeah.
Nuts are obviously hard on machinery. And I was tasting every batch. And really, like, we got to this point because we like sweet foods, of course, but we still think there's just so much sugar and overly sweet foods out there.
Yeah.
And we've been seeking, as consumers, we've been seeking savory and healthy and tasty snacks for years. And we kept coming back to, like, beef jerky or hummus. And we were wondering, why is there, no other offerings that are out there that truly check all those boxes? Let's give we have a question.
Yeah.
Peanut butter is great, but there is more than just PB. Totally agree, nut butter enthusiast. 100%. Yeah. You should try our stuff.
I think that could be one of your taglines. We're the hummus of nut butters. That just would be
Yeah, and I mean, so hummus is one of the ways the number one question we get from people is, it's not peanut butter. I'm not going to put it with jelly between 2 slices of bread. So how do I eat it? And I'll tell people it's, think of how you would eat in hummus, or maybe even cheese or something like that, in terms of it's really great paired with things like chicken. And one of our favorite ways to have the walnut butter is on a turkey burger. So it has those different applications and makes it really versatile.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, when the kitchen comes from a place of fun and not a place of fear, it's more exciting for everybody in the family. And you probably have not so picky kid eaters, hopefully, because you guys make
They're getting there.
All right. Do they like all the nut butters?
They do. And I would say, in my experience, they are the most adventurous when they can participate in the cooking process.
Yeah.
So if we can get them to help us with the meal, that's when they get the most adventurous.
I think when the whole family's in there, sleeves are rolled up and tasting everything, it's just a great moment and a great memory too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So how old are the 2? There's 2 of them, right?
There are. Our daughter just turned 7 a couple days ago, and our son is 4.5.
Okay, so do they know that this is your business? I always tell bakers, ask your kids what you do, and you'll hear the purest, but also sometimes the most ridiculous answer from oh, my mom draws in the basement, whatever. So do they know that you are the nut butter people?
They do,
yeah.
And they're into it.
Okay.
Every now and then, if we have a big production run, we'll bring some jars home from our commercial kitchen, and we'll do some labeling at home. And our daughter, she started at a Montessori school, and it's a very Montessori thing to work with your hands. So she loves to apply the stickers on the front and the back of the jar. Her favorite flavor is the cashew, because she says it tastes like pizza.
Oh,
and then, there's some sun-dried tomato and some basil and onion and garlic in there. Yeah. And our son, Eli, he likes the pecan, although he calls it bagan.
Oh, nice.
So some people call it pecan or pecan. Eli calls it bagan.
It's not pecan. When I had Jeremy Messersmith on, I said, I am from Kansas and in the South, and pecan goes under your bed to pee in, and that is not what you call. So
it's funny you said that, because
it is a very regional dialect, and it's and I think most Minnesotans say pecan as opposed to pecan. I say pecan.
We did put up an Instagram poll at one point, though, asking this very question: is it pecan or pecan? And I think 60% said pecan. So tomato.
Yeah. Pecan.
I agree.
Tomato.
I agree.
Well, kind of what's the most satisfying part of making this? And we're going to talk kind of about your kitchen here in a little bit, but just, is it just all that warmth of knowing it's from your kitchen to their kitchen and kind of that feel good maker? I mean, it feels good to make stuff.
Well, I think for me, it's really solving a problem that I think is the most rewarding. When people say, why has nobody thought of this before? Of course, there should be savory nut butter. Like, yes, like that same kind of light bulb when you see people taste it and think about like, oh, yes, I need this in my pantry. I think that's like the best part. Um, you know, I think making it too is really, really fun, but I think just solving the problems the part.
What was eye-opening, we launched at the local farmers markets in the summer of 2018.
Okay.
And you could see people's eyes light up when they tried it because they hadn't had something like it before. And that was, validating and fun. And then, they had questions. Oh my gosh, why doesn't this exist? What should I do with this? And that led to some of the packaging decisions that we made. So we have a sticker on the top of the jar. But at the farmers markets, we met Beth Dooley, who's tremendous. And she said, you should take this to Lake Winds immediately. And so we took her advice and did that. We met Peter Campbell of Red Wagon Pizza, who's always been heavily involved at the Linden Hills Farmers Market. He really loved it. So when we had like legitimate chefs showing appreciation for the product, we knew we were onto something.
Absolutely.
And so, that's, we want to give people, we do like to delight and surprise with the product. Now that term gets thrown out there a lot, but truly we want to make products that actually people truly love. And we always want to consider their opinions before we create new things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we're doing some of that now behind the scenes, like talking to customers, asking what they want to see from us, what do they think is void in the market as well. Because we don't want to create a new product and have it be a redundant product. Because there's a lot of redundancy if you walk the middle of the grocery store. We don't need any more versions of Ritz crackers, as an example, right? And it's a lot of work. So if we're going to go to the trouble of creating something, we want it to be differentiated and healthy and tasty, of course.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I always talk with food producers that you make this great product. It's in a beautiful package. It nourishes. It's indulgent. But you also can take them someplace with that bite. Like you can transport them to the field or the sun-dried tomato. It's just transported to, I don't know that word, transported. Tell me what you want people to think of when they have humble nut butter.
I just want them to think of kind of variety of foods. And I think, we're kind of, even though there's tons of choices in our grocery aisles, there's still like a very kind of conventional way of thinking about flavors and, what people like. And it's like, that's why there's tons of different cookie dough flavor and this, brownie this and cake batter that. And I think there's so many wonderful flavors in food that if we can just get more variety, so we're not eating the same thing and we're not training our brains to always crave something that tastes like a cookie. And me personally, I love cookies and I love cake and things like that. But if I'm going to eat a cookie, I just want to eat a really good cookie. Like, so
you don't want to taste hummus that you don't want to eat hummus that tastes like cookie batter.
I maybe, but and it serves its purpose for sure. But I think I just want to have people think of how great food tastes and how different flavors can, inspire them to cook, and that, savory can be more than just nacho cheese and pizza, and that's kind of what there is out there.
And I think what's so great is, even looking at this, your ingredients, dry roasted cashew, sun-dried tomatoes, safflower oil, basil. There's nothing in there I can't pronounce, that old analogy. But what I love about it, and I made that smoothie bowl yesterday, is you just get all those layers. It's not just like peanut or, you get those layers, and they're just really amazing. And you lick your lips a little later, and there's another flavor on there of whatever you had. So it's just really remarkable the way you've built the flavor profiles.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. You know, and one of the things that Beth said is it's a culinary product. And again, we're not professional chefs. Jess is a very good cook for sure. But we put a lot of effort into the jars. And to your point, Jared, I mean, these are certified organic herbs and spices. They're all foods that you've heard of.
Yeah.
And also it's about what we don't use. So we don't use stabilizers. We don't use palm oil. So you'll see some natural oil separation. And we would rather have that happen because it's a naturally occurring event. And we say that real food is a little bit wild. And even if it's going to cost us more to make a premium, high quality product, we'd rather do that than to cheat and use some stabilizers for the sake of consistency and mass scale.
And I always say palm oil is this weird thing that people think like, oh, it's good, it's in this and this and this. Okay, it's in your food and it's in soap. It really can't be good if it ends up with those two products as stabilizers. Like, it's a weird thing. All right, somebody's asking here, oh, it's Nut Butter Enthusiast. You guys have great options for the keto consumer. Well done. Can't wait until you come to Australia. Well, I bet we could get a jar to Australia for Nut Butter Enthusiasts.
We'll figure it out.
Could.
Yeah. DM Humble Nut Butter, and we'll figure out how to get it down
for sure
for you there.
Be happy to.
All right, so humble nut butter. Humble is one of my favorite words. I always preach about words I hate, like hustle and whimsical and all that. But humble is one of those that has just, it hits you in the heart and it means something. And so tell me what humble means to you and why you landed on that for the name.
Yeah. I think that humility is one of the more admirable qualities in human beings. It's just kind of how I was raised. I think it was ingrained from my family. Even just, playing sports growing up, if you had a great play, you scored a touchdown, you got a good hit, whatever, you don't celebrate it. And it's not about you, right? And I think that the world could benefit from more humility, of course, these days. But as it relates to food, we think that food should be honest, real, tasty, nutritious, and done because that's the right thing to do. Not done because we're trying to get credit for that. It should be table stakes.
Yeah, and I think when we were trying to come up with names, we had a lot of different ideas in the beginning, and it kind of stuck with us because I think it has all of those attributes that we kind of aspire for in building a company. But also it spoke to me about the food that, like, and we get a lot of feedback from different people in terms of, like, have you thought about adding extra protein or adding collagen or, something like this. And to me, I just feel like food should be humble too. Like, I don't subscribe to, like, I'm not a Michael Phelps, like, competitive swimmer, so I don't need to, like, pump myself full of, something different. And I just want the food to kind of speak for itself. And, like, nuts are extremely healthy on their own, so I don't think we need to add anything to it. So I feel like it's a brand that we can grow with, and it speaks to people. And I think kind of right off the bat, hopefully they know that they're getting something that's kind of real and humble.
Yeah.
One more thing I want to add, Jared. So I'll never forget the first time I ran into the Kind Bar. We were at the Pitchfork Music Festival in Chicago, and they were sampling these mini jars, like millions of these jars. Just, you could take... Bars, not jars, I'm sorry. And on the back of it, it said ingredients that you can see and pronounce. And that resonated with me. I like the transparency, and that stuck with me, 12 years later at this point.
Yeah, they're a great company too. All right, so Maker, I have written Maker Struggle, but I know what that means. You talked about Linden Hills Farmers Market, and you followed a very classic Maker path. You guys kept corporate jobs to pay the bills. You did this on the side. It's grown. You've both dedicated full-time to it now. But there is that struggle to, oh, God, it's Sunday. I have to go to Linden Hills, and I'm going to kiss the kids while they're still in bed and load all these Rubbermaid totes into the car. And so talk a little bit about, it's not as glamorous as it seems when people are there tasting and falling in love with your product to know, like, my tent's barely staying up. So what is that Maker struggle, and how do you encourage people to stick with it when they need to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sacrifice for your time and your energy. And as full-time working parents, our weekends were really precious to us. But I think we found a way to make it work because we were lucky that we, we kind of worked with farmers markets that were in our kind of area. So we live in Linden Hills, so it was kind of fun to like push the stroller down and meet John and help him, set things up. And we try and involve the kids as much as possible. And but yeah, they're work for sure. And I think the thing about farmers markets, once you do them, you see how much work they are. And I once farmers markets are back up in action to even go down when it's not the most beautiful of days, because the people will be in their tents, rain or shine. And
Yeah.
and it's just like a great way to be part of your community. So I think if anybody's ever curious about oh, I have something I make, or whether it's a textile or a food product, like I think like go for it. I don't even think it has to be like I'm gonna start a business, but I just think it's a fun way to be a part of your neighborhood and your community, and you meet really fun people. And I think it was a great experience for us, and I look forward to getting back to it when they open.
Yeah.
I think even beyond the farmers markets, though, we knew it would be a lot of work. But for the first time in our lives, like we're working for ourselves after having, corporate careers. So we've just kind of owned it. I mean, we know that right now is a particularly challenging stage, right? Everything is made by hand. We're still pretty small, but we're growing, and we've got some strategies to scale the business, and we can see that happening, and people are liking the product, and we're adding new stores. But it's definitely a 7-day-a-week thing. But I think our eyes are on the prize. Like, we know it's going to be hard work. We want to continue to do our best and to create good products that people love. And it will get easier over time. And it's also nice to be your own boss. I mean, you do have the autonomy. Even though you're going to be working hard, you're working for yourself. And I think that's really rewarding.
I also think being parents was a good primer for it, because I joke that we have, Humble was our nut butter baby. And because it keeps you up late at night, doesn't thank you. It's really expensive. There's lots of, lost sleep and hard work. So I think, as crazy as it is still for us to have 2 young kids and a really demanding startup, it's like a member of the family.
Yeah. Good. Well, let's talk. I always talk about commercial kitchens and how, there is a point where you move out of your kitchen and your home kitchen, and you find a commercial kitchen, and you have found a very special place in our community. And I want you to talk a little bit about JHAP and a little bit about what inclusive employment is, and then we've got to talk about Tim. So, Tim will join. Go ahead. Well, I have to say, we have people from frozen Texas watching us. So we've got a diverse group from Australia to the tundra of Texas now. So
I hope they have power down there.
Yes.
It's quite a storm. So JHAP, we got introduced to Nicole Rabinowitz, who started at JHAP. So she found ourselves, Isidore Nuts, and a couple other makers to occupy the space. Now, JHAP is inside of a residence for adults with disabilities. And Nicole has gone on to start Inclusive Networking. And they provide customized employment for adults of all abilities. And she approached us about this opportunity. And, we didn't set out to be an inclusive employer. Frankly, we didn't even know what that meant. But she approached us and told us about, the need for inclusive work, meaningful jobs, engaging jobs. And she got to know our process a little bit more and how it's made from a production standpoint. And then introduced us to Tim. So, she knew Tim well, knew his strengths, knew what his personality is like, and just could tell that we would be a great fit together. And so Tim has been a tremendous asset to the team. We've been with Tim for, it'll be 2 years in April.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got promoted to senior production assistant a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And he's still riding high from the promotion. And so, yeah, if folks haven't seen it, we do Thursdays with Tim on Instagram. Sometimes it's a story. Sometimes it's an actual post or video. Tim helps us with labeling and getting our shipments out the door for Amazon or website orders or other online orders.
Yeah. And, the JCAP kitchen is this beautiful space that was just kind of unfortunately going unused. So it was just this perfect happenstance where, there's tons of makers in the Minneapolis area who need commercial kitchen space. So, and then they're, startup small businesses always need some extra hands. So it wasn't a requirement for us to move in there and produce our product in their kitchen facility, but it was just kind of this no-brainer situation. And it's just, if you have an opportunity within a business to bring on somebody who has some, different needs, different skill sets, I would totally encourage it. My father was a special education teacher for 35 years. So I grew up with a community of adults and young people with special needs. And it's just a wonderful thing to have in your life. I think they're just an amazing community of people. And it was kind of a no-brainer for us. And like Jen said, we didn't set out to be an inclusive employer, but it's just become a part of our business now.
I think what's so wonderful about the videos with Tim and just knowing that he's in the kitchen with you is there's so much joy. Like you can just see it in his face. And I'm sure it must lift you guys up on bad days when you think, I'm going back to that kitchen, but that he's there. And I think it's just, you said that there's it's such a beautiful community, and to be able to partner with them and have meaning is just amazing. And I think it really adds to the meaning behind your making, which is why we're talking today, because it is so important to what you do and where you do it. And I think that people really can celebrate that.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you listen to music while you make?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you listen to? Or podcasts. So Tim loves Selena Gomez.
Oh.
So if he had his druthers, it'd be a lot of Selena. Tim's also a great dancer, by the way.
Okay.
One of these days we'll get some moves documented because you'll respect his moves. Typically it's some hip hop or some indie rock. Nothing too aggressive.
Okay.
But I like the tempo and the beats for hip hop. It's kind of feel good music.
Okay.
Or some instrumentals or indie rock. We played some Bob Dylan after he released his collection for gobs of money. We got on the Bob Dylan kick. And we had a big order for Aramark. We've got these 4-ounce mini jars, which, by the way, will be at Kowalski's in the next few weeks.
Nice.
Yeah. They're about half the size of our regular jar. Actually, we don't have any here, otherwise I'd show you.
That's a good airport treat, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So more to come on that.
Did you, I think it's on HBO Max, the Selena Gomez Cooking in Quarantine show. Have you seen that?
No. Should we?
It is worth watching, and you could watch it with Tim too. But she partnered with chefs in LA, and they come on, and she's in her kitchen, and they teach her how to cook like either their signature dish. But if she's still recording, we should figure out a way to get her some humble nut butter and tell her her story.
And our production manager Alex spends Fridays with Tim, so maybe I'll give them a heads up. And if they get their work done tomorrow, they can do a little Selena Gomez streaming action. Yeah,
they're great. It's just she's got a beautiful kitchen, and she's one of those that's freaked out by raw chicken and all that, but she gets the job done, and they coach her through it. And but it's fun. It's fun for sure. Well, if you could share your nut butter with anybody, who would it be? If you could just sit down with somebody and cook a meal for them and break bread, who would it be?
What a great question. I'll go first while you think on that, because I can tell you're thinking. And this is only, so my answer changes on a weekly basis, probably, Jared. I would say right now, Steve Kerr, and I'm sorry if that bores you. Steve Kerr is the coach for the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
I love his leadership style. He's a player's coach. He also played the game. He's a really good player himself. He won some championships with the Bulls. I don't know if you saw Michael Jordan's documentary, The Last Dance.
No, no.
But Steve Kerr had a prominent role in that.
Okay.
And I like what he stands for. I think he's more than just an athlete. I think he's a leader. He's got tons of wisdom. I think he's got tons of empathy. And I try to model my leadership patterns after him. And I'm a sports fan, so I'm going to go with Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
All right. Now pause, Jess. Do you have a cousin in Sweden?
We do.
We do.
Yeah.
They said you should share a jar with them.
Nice. We will be in Australia. And then I know this guy. He's in Portland. That's Paul.
So global.
Paul Smith, Smiz77. Thank you, Paul. He's probably a big Blazers fan, but I can tell he likes Steve Kerr. So we got that in common.
All right. Good, good, good. How about you, Jess?
So we always have this question of like, who would you eat dinner with? And, you know, what celebrity, famous person would you want? And so that's who popped into my mind first. So that's who I'll say. David Sedaris.
Yeah.
I would love to just like, because
And
even if he
cook
didn't
for me.
like it, he'd probably make me laugh. And
Yeah.
then I'd feel better. So,
What'd you say?
I said Amy could cook the meal. Amy Sedaris could cook the meal.
yes.
And
Yeah.
Conan. Last one would be Conan. I mean, just like a meal where we laughed our faces off, that'd be incredible.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Well, you mentioned Kowalski's. Talk to us about where people can find the nut butters.
Yeah.
Amazon, we know.
Yeah, our website. So we've shipped to all 50 states. We try to get the order.
And soon Australia.
Yeah, and Sweden.
In Sweden.
By special request.
Yeah. Why stop? Just go as far as possible. So our website, we'll get orders out in 2 days or less. Kowalski's will be in all 11 locations in the next few weeks. Right now we're in 8, but we'll be in 3 more soon.
And we're in the cheese section. Of
That's what I was
Kowalski's.
just going to say. Let's talk about where you are at that store. And I have a funny Whole Foods story for you. Okay, so why are you in the cheese section?
Great question. That was their suggestion. They thought because our stuff is culinary and it's good on the meat or a cheese board, and crackers, of course, that would be a good place for it. It's on the perimeter of the store. People are going there to kind of discover. And we agree. I mean, people generally are spending more time on the edge of the store versus center store. But they've been a great partner. We're also in Whole Foods, by the way. And
Okay,
go ahead.
Here's my Whole Food story. So they've got that stupid checkout system now where they keep you in that one line.
Yeah.
So I was in line, must have been the Edina store because you're on that back aisle. Yeah, it's the Edina store. So I was in line and I was right in front of your nut butters and I thought, I'm not going to say anything because usually I'll just talk to anybody. I'm not going to say anything. So then this lady says, in all honesty, oh, gross, walnut butter with truffle. And I said, no. So I went through that you guys were here and all this. And so I said, you could put it on this, you could do this. And she's like, well, do you work with them? I said, no. I said, they're just great people. And this was before you were coming on this. I said, I work with makers. And I said, I work with the magazine. And so we talked about what I did. And so she had started following me on Instagram. So she bought a jar of it. And like maybe a week later, I get this email or this direct message. You will remember me, but I'm the lady you talked into buying the walnut butter. And I bought the other 2 flavors since.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're a great ambassador.
It was just funny coincidence, and I thought it made me happy that she reached back out. But there probably is a little bit of that gross factor because people want the sweet or they don't know what walnut butter tastes like. So
Right.
I schooled her on it.
Well,
You've
you.
earned yourself a T-shirt, Jared. I'll get you one soon.
Yeah, I think so. So Kowalski's, Whole Foods, the co-ops, our website, Amazon.
Rustica, 2 locations for Rustica. Kieran's Kitchen in Northeast.
Love it.
Wesley Andrews has a bagel program they've rolled out every Sunday. So you can find our truffle or walnut on the bagels.
And I would just say, like, I think the hardest part for our business during the pandemic is that we haven't been able to sample.
Yeah.
And it is a different product. It's new. People haven't tasted it before. It's hard to wrap your head around something like a truffle herb walnut. And so I would just say to your audience, like, take a shot. Like, you know, if you hate it, let us know. We'll make right by you. But just take a shot on whether it's our product or another product. Like, it's hard out there for the food companies that can't sample
Yeah.
in a COVID time.
And I think that people are being more adventurous now because we're tired of making that banana bread. So now everybody's making the feta pasta. So if you could figure out if this stirs well into that feta pasta, you're golden.
Both the cashew and
Yes.
the walnut are great on pasta. We're going to send you some recipes.
I know. We
All
did
right.
we did the viral tortilla challenge as well a few weeks ago. So I'm on it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Grander48. That's Greg. He's the guy in Texas, I believe. Great to
All
see you,
right.
Greg. Hope you're warm.
Well, any other advice for makers, or we know where to find you, or parting shots, and I'll close this out for us.
I would just say if you're passionate about a project that you've been working on, you've put enough thought and energy into it, give it a try.
Yeah.
You're never going to know until you try it, right?
Yep.
So sometimes done is better than perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and I always say just get out there and do it. And if you keep hearing from your friends and family, oh, you should sell this, or this is so good, or it's just your go-to thing, then you should make it for sure. Someone just recommended an egg salad sandwich with it, which sounds delicious. I
Love that
a good
idea.
egg salad.
And it's great when customers come up with their own
Yeah.
ideas. Like that's one of the most fun things that happens for
I
us.
love it.
All right, so we learned today
Tag us.
there are many ways to use it. Tag them in your posts and your recipes, and I'm sure they'll find a way to feature you or earn a t-shirt or whatever. I'm going to collect on my t-shirt. But thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to get to know both of you, and I was already a fan, and to know a little bit more about Tim and the kitchen and everything is great.
Pleasure's ours, Jared. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to close this out, but thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Right.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care. You can read the digital edition of Minnesota Monthly at minnesotamonthly.com. The sign fell down, but I am proud to be sponsored by iBobs. You can make your life be every bit as interesting as your eyewear. My kvetchers here. I'm joined next week by Kate Meyer, who is Craft Made Aprons, and she's the mother of 3 chefs and makes the best aprons in town. 2 weeks, I'll be joined by Amy Thielen, Give a Girl a Knife Midwest Table from up north. So we're on a little food roll here for a while. But we'll get off that and on to some other maker goods as well. So follow us at Minnesota Mag, MNMO Mag, at Humble Nut Butter, at iBobs, and at Mr. Jared Scott. Until I see you next time, make something, stay safe, eat nut butter, be warm, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.